Due to ongoing war, Ukraine has lost 20% of agricultural land. So it is up to 8 million hectares of agricultural land is temporarily not available for Ukraine due to the war. So the production of grain in Ukraine changes from year to year. If we look at the results of the previous year, which is finalized, it was 87 million tons of grains. It means cereals and oilseeds. If you look only at the production of grains like wheat, corn, and barley, so the production of grain was previous year around 63 million tons. When we look at the forecast of the current year, because the production is still in process, so far our focus for the current year is to produce about 55 million tons of grains and 75 million tons of grains and oilseeds together. So if you look at the current, for example, figures, the average export is about 5 million tons of agricultural main commodities per month. It means that it could be about 60 million tons per year at the current state. For example, if we look at the results of 2021, before the war, when we had the record harvest, so the export was about 78 million tons. So unfortunately, due to the war, the production volumes and export has decreased. So a few words. Indeed, Arab countries depend on import of grains. About 70% of grains are imported in Arab countries. And about this figure, so from Ukraine, about between 15 and 20% usually the previous years, the import of grains to Arab countries came from Ukraine. The main countries which import and depend on grain are Egypt, Iraq, Algeria, Saudi Arabia. That's the four biggest one. Also, others which are on the list also depend, but this, like from the volumes point of view, these four countries are the biggest importer. Palestine, yes, of course, we also export. It's not the biggest one by volumes, but indeed we do export. Even more, we don't only export, we have supported under the program Grain from Ukraine. We have sent for free, like a humanitarian aid, also agricultural commodities to Palestine, and they arrived just this month, so a few weeks ago. If the war continues, we will have a food disaster. There are a few reasons for this. First of all, Ukraine is one of the biggest, has been one of the biggest exporters of grain in the world. As we see, the numbers are about tens millions of tons. What we could indicate in 2022, for example, when the export from Ukraine stopped for half a year, from March to August, the overall international food price index increased by 35%. So it means that production and of food out of grain becomes more expensive. And another way is that in the world, the amounts of soils and the amounts of land is decreasing. So it is impossible to replace the production volumes of Ukraine in any other part of the world. So definitely the stable and sustainable production and export of agricultural commodities of Ukraine is critical for international food security. So there are at least two big challenges for the export of grain from Ukraine due to the war. One of them is security, because still we have the attacks on infrastructure, logistics infrastructure, on the Odessa seaport. So the security issue is important. And another one is the price of export and price of logistics. Due to the war, the insurance rates have increased. Also, the freight costs have increased. So this means that logistics has become more expensive, and this means that Ukrainian farmers receive less profit because the logistics is decreased from the international prices. And of course, it cannot be for a decades or for a long time. So far, the Ukrainian farmers have been able to keep producing because they have some reserves from the previous years. But if the situation is with the expensive logistics in place for a long time, it can become not profitable to produce for Ukrainian farmers. They will just become bankruptcy. So it's very important to return to the peacetime of logistics and peacetime cost of logistics. We as a country and our president has officially presented the Ukraine peace formula. This peace formula has 10 steps, and one of them is food security. And under this agenda of food security, we do provide these numbers that there are risks of price increase, the risks of famine, especially in poor countries. And also there are risks of social instability, because we do understand that food is a basic and necessary commodity to be available. So we have shown the problems of prices of 2022, and we have indicated that at the current circumstances, it will be hard for Ukrainian farmers to keep producing and finance this without the support. So we communicated on the level of Ukrainian peace formula. The last very official international event was the Peace Summit, which was in Switzerland in June of this year. That there can be no means to use food as weapon. It means no means to keep burning the fields or send rockets to the silos or elevators or storages of foods, or stop or blockade the Black Sea for the food transport and create these problems in different countries.